Have you ever planned out a lavish vacation where you thought you were just gonna get the best photos ever? And when you were on that vacation, you were taking pictures at every corner and every turn of everything that you saw. And then by the time you got home, you were like, these really aren't that great. Not what I remember seeing and not how I wanted them to turn out. If it sounds like you, stick around because this video is for you. Howdy y'all, welcome back to another video. Today is all about taking better pictures, really anytime, but specifically when you're on vacation and all you need is your trusty little smartphone. These things are incredible. They take amazing photos. You don't need some expensive camera, spending thousands of dollars on lenses and all that. You just need some know-how on how to do things a little bit better to get the most out of the pictures that you're taking. So, as the title suggests, I'm going to be sharing 5 of my best practices to taking better photos whenever you're on vacation. So, without further ado, let's dive into the first best practice. All right, so this one honestly drives me nuts because if it happens, it's only because you're not paying attention or you're in a rush. And both of those are solved by just slowing down and focusing on the photo for a second. So, I have a few photos I'm going to show you as an example. These are actually for all the practices that I'm going to describe here in this video. So just bear with me, they're not the best photos, but I'm just using them as an example so you guys have a better idea of what I'm actually talking about. So let me show you real quick. All right, so with this first photo, you can tell obviously a bit dramatic here, but you know, I took this photo and I'm trying to get the trees and then how it's going off into the distance and everything. But it looks horrible because clearly it looks like the earth is falling off of its axis. And so here on the next one, you can see that I took the time to actually make sure that this horizon was level. And no, it's not the greatest photo ever taken, but it's still more pleasing than the one before it simply because of the straight horizon. Here's another example of Utah State Capitol. You can tell that it's very crooked, right? Oh, the cool Capitol, you know, but it looks disorienting. It looks unpleasing to the eye. Where you come to this one and it's not perfectly straight and everything, but it is level. And the horizon doesn't always have to necessarily be the actual horizon, right? In the case of this photo, it's the top of the Capitol building along with some of the other horizontal lines throughout the image. And so that's something that can definitely improve your photo and just make it look less disorienting and things like that. If you're finding that you're having trouble actually telling where something is level, then a lot of phones do have something called grid lines or the rule of thirds that you can actually apply to your screen. And there'll be these little thin lines, still might be somewhat difficult to see. Some phones actually do include a level indicator, something you could turn on if you so desire, but overall, make sure that your photos are level. I guarantee that you'll be more pleased with them when you go back to look at them and share them with family members. So as you might expect, this is another common mistake because you see something, you want to take a picture of it, and you just want to take a picture of it the way it is, right? You don't want to have to worry about moving around or doing anything like that. But what can happen is that the sun ends up taking over the image. Now, a lot of phones do have something called HDR, which stands for High Dynamic Range. And essentially it tries to balance out that image without going into too much detail. But you're making the camera work more than it necessarily has to. So here's an example once again. So here you can see just the backside of the Capitol building, the sun's in it. I did this photo a little bit intentionally to try to prove a point, but you can see that, you know, the Capitol is not as clearly defined, right? So you go back to look at this photo and it's not nearly as appealing. So something that you can do, a simple little tool that you can use, is simply look around for objects that are casting a shadow. So in this case, this lamp here is casting a shadow and telling you the direction of the sun's light. So general rule of thumb to make these photos better or to avoid this problem is to point your camera in the direction that the shadow is pointing. So essentially treat the shadow as a giant arrow on the ground, and you want to point your camera in the direction of that arrow. So having distractions on the edges of your frame is a result of the same exact two things as before. It's just because we're in a rush and we're not invested in taking the photo and being patient and really making sure we're getting the composition that we're looking for. So I do have two more images to show you what I'm talking about. So this first one, you can see that the Capitol building looks fine. It's, you know, it's a decent photo, whatever. But you got these two sets of leaves sticking out of the left side of the frame. And as I'm looking at the Capitol, my eye keeps darting over to that because I'm distracted by it, right? It's not a clean image. But you head to this second photo that I took, and all I did was take a step to the right? I didn't have to do anything crazy. And all of a sudden, as you can see, the edges of the photo are now clean, and it's less distracting for the viewer. So don't be scared to take a step to the left or right, move around a little bit, see how it changes, and also just make sure that the edges of your frame, right, the edges of your screen, don't have anything protruding into it that would be distracting, unless you intentionally have it there. But you know, you just gotta be careful with that and make sure that it's not going to distract from the viewer's attention. That's the big takeaway. So this fourth practice is actually more of a technique. It's a way of trying to compose your photo in a way that actually gives the viewer time to move their way through the photo as if they were actually in that location, or if it was actually a three-dimensional photo, or however you want to view it. But using leading lines guides your viewer's eyes through the photo itself, right? So once again, some more examples. So here is just a wide shot of the Capitol itself, gets the point across, not a big deal. But then you come to this image and you have a little bit of distraction with the shadow there. So there, I could have even improved on this photo in that case. But the key point here is the sidewalk. So the sidewalk is leading the viewer's eye up to the Capitol, right? So it starts from the bottom and then it moves you through. And in a way, it almost feels like you were actually in that spot itself, right? So it really adds that a little bit more of a emotional attachment to the photo for someone to be viewing it. And you can really get creative with this. In fact, I then took one going up and down, so you do lose a little bit of the size of the Capitol building, but it does help accentuate the actual sidewalk itself leading up to the Capitol. So just gotta play around with it, see what you can make happen. And leading lines don't have to just be a sidewalk or something on the ground. It could be the side of a building, it could be the yellow stripes on the road, you know, don't go running on the road if there's cars coming. But there's all kinds of different things that lead the viewer's eye using lines, you know, a dock or something. So just keep an eye out for that, and it can really add some depth and 3D to your photo. All right, so this final practice is by far my favorite. That's why I saved it for last, but it's so great because it changes the perspective for the viewer. Everybody goes around seeing everything at eye level. That's why it's called eye level. So when you get low and you change that perspective, it allows us to see the world in a different way, right? So once again, let me show you these last three pictures to show you what I'm talking about. So this picture was taken at eye level, right? Just normal picture of it. And you can see that it's fine, there's nothing wrong with it, but let's go and get low. So now all of a sudden you can see that you can now see the rest of the grass at the bottom, right? You know, the photo before it was cut off. And so you now add that bit in the foreground to give the viewer a little bit more to look at. And it does change a little bit. It does feel like you're a little bit lower to the ground, and it's just appreciated a little bit more. And this last picture is where things get really dramatic, because to get this picture, I actually put the phone on the ground itself, right? And snap the photo this way. And that allows you to get a perspective that you virtually would never really see with your own eye. And I even used a little bit of a leading line here with the crack. And it almost feels like you're an ant, you know, very small, and it makes the capital look so much bigger than it did in the first photo. And so getting low, getting dirty, being willing to do what you need to do to get the shot right, or to really change the perspective and get creative, sometimes you just gotta think outside the box. So there you go. All right, so if you made it this far, I'm actually gonna give you a 6th bonus practice that I think is worth mentioning, and that is shooting at sunrise and sunset. And the way that you can find out that golden hour time is to do a quick Google search of your location, right? So you get to your location, your vacation location, and you do a quick Google search and you see that, oh, okay, in this location, the sunset time is at 7 p.m. Well, golden hour as a general rule of thumb is going to be 30 minutes before that sunset time and 30 minutes after. So it'd be from 6:30 to 7:30. And there's a lot of reasons why photographers love shooting at this time, but the only real basic answer is that it's the best light. It's the softest light. You get more colors in the sky. You have less shadows. It's not that harsh beating sun that you've seen in all the photos I just showed you. And so being able to kind of balance it out and be smoother and more appealing to the eye, it's just really enjoyable. And it doesn't have to just be on the beach, you know, or actually a picture of the sun setting or the sun rising. It can be of the Capitol building. It can be of the mountains. It can be of anything. Sometimes the best view at sunset and sunrise golden hours is to turn around. You know, if the sun is coming up over here, look this way. And what the light is doing to that landscape or whatever your model or whatever it is, it could be totally dramatic. And so definitely keeping an eye out for that. The dedication to get up for sunrise and stay up for sunset can be challenging, but it can also be extremely rewarding. And there you have it. 6 practices that you can use the next time you're on vacation or next time that you're out exploring your city or on a hike or whatever, you know, just get creative, use these things to try to elevate your photography to the next level and have a photo that you're more proud of and something that people are going to be more likely to look at and enjoy themselves. So if you got anything out of this, I would love to hear about it down in the comments below. If you like this video, please consider liking it and subscribing because I'm always planning to do more videos like this in the future. And yeah, until the next one, see ya.